Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for June 17th, 2025. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita and Es Baraheni. Coming up, the Thunder are up 3-2. J-Dub had a huge game. We got Andrew Schlecht live from the arena. Lots to talk about after Game 5. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody out there. The Oklahoma City Thunder pick up a pivotal win in Game 5 of the NBA Finals series. And guys, how often does a team win Game 5 and go on to win the title? Hell of a game.
75% of the time, actually. Got the number.
I knew you
right
have
here.
an answer for me, yes, because I did not have the number in front of me. I appreciate that.
When it is a 2-2 series.
Again, another electric game in the series. The Thunder controlled most of this one, but we did get a furious Pacers comeback. They got it to as much as within 2, and then the Thunder just stepped on the gas again. And I think the guy we got to start with, J-Dub, Jalen Williams just had a ridiculous game. 40 points, 14 of 25 from the field. I mean, that sort of shot volume, Zena, like we don't normally see that out of him, but he really took the lead, I thought, in the game. He wasn't just playing off of Shai.
You see this stair-stepper performance from Jalen Williams in this series. I mean, starting out with 17 points, next game, 19 points, next game, 26, 27. And then 40 points. And let's just be real, there was a layup at the end that he almost got that could have gotten him to 42. But it was just really impressive to see him have this consistent growth and acceleration, not only in the production, but also like literally acceleration out on the court. Yeah. He was so fast in transition, off of made baskets, off of turnovers, off of whatever action on the other end. He shortened the length of the court, and he just felt like his game got to another level, just off of his speed and his ability to get into the paint. But it's really fun to see that, especially because there were all of these speculations about his ability to be a true number 2 alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in that Minnesota Timberwolves series. There's a lot of questions about his ability. Despite his 34-point performance, very next game, he's in the teens again. So what can Jalen consistently provide? Well, he's showing that on the biggest stage.
Yeah, it's a grow-up game in the biggest way, in the biggest game of his career, which I think is the most awesome part about this. Like, this is a superstar being born, realistically, when it comes to Jalen Williams. And to your point about, like, his usage going up every single game, I think OKC has had to lean on him a little bit more, too, because they're getting SGA off the ball more. They're trying to do that, like, SGA as the screener for J-Dub so he can get downhill and drive. And so it just opens up so many more opportunities for him. You talk about him being fast. I can't count how many transition opportunities he had tonight. He absolutely feasted. And part of that is how good he is defensively. Like we kind of forget the offensive evolution has been so important for J-Dub. But the defense is where he hangs his hat. And because he can do multiple things, switch 1 through 5, basically, he can dominate on both ends. It's incredible to watch.
We talk a lot in basketball about guys being able to play center field, a lot of cross position, cornerback, like free safety. He's a middle linebacker for them defensively. He reads every play. He can blow you up at the rim. He can blow you up at the DHO, at the handoff level. Obviously, he blows up every single screen that they're trying to do. If you leave the ball hanging out, he's just clubbing it down and turning it into something. But that's the Thunder, right? Like, this is what they do. It's what they did to the Pacers in the entire game. But also, I think we got to talk about his shot making. I mean, he had a ridiculous, drive into a pivot fadeaway from the elbow. And it looked like, I'm not going to say it was like a Michael Jordan type of shot, but it was a Michael Jordan type of move, right? Like, and you just don't see that from a lot of guys, and especially not at this stage. We should say Shai had 31 in the game. So it wasn't like Shai didn't show up and J-Dub had to carry this thing.
Like 10 assists.
This is sort of the vision for these two, right? Like, we talked about this on the last show, after the game Friday night, but getting these guys more involved with each other equals success. And it seems like they learned something from that fourth quarter in Game 4. They stuck with it more often, I thought, in game 5. And it wasn't an easy win, but it certainly was one that they controlled for the entire game. I mean, it was a heck of a game for the Thunder.
I just want to throw out a quick stat. SGA and J-Dub combined to score or assist on 103 of OKC's 120 points tonight. So it was like 80% of their buckets was those two. Just wanted to mention that because that's incredible. That's ridiculous.
And I'm happy you mentioned that because that was literally the stat I was going to add. And I was also going to add that the connectivity between those two, Dave, as you're mentioning, getting them to play together amidst the 10 assists that Shai passed out, 3 of them went off to J-Dub. So you just love to see that tandem working so effortlessly. And even in the moments where things got a little dicey, towards the top of that fourth quarter, and you were like, oh, maybe the Pacers will make, some sort of run. Who were the two that immediately stepped up to make some tough buckets in the paint on their defenders, J-Dub and Shai Gilgeous? So it's exactly what Indiana did not want to see, but exactly what OKC has been planning for.
Guys, it's going to get a little bit overlooked. Chet Holmgren had, I thought, probably his best game, 2 ways. And it's definitely his best game when he was the only big out there. I thought he looked great in the minutes that he played without Hartenstein. Had some huge rebounds, blocked shots. I mean, this is the sort of that you would love to get more than 9 points out of him. But in a game where, you have Shai and J-Dub combined for 71 points, 9 is plenty out of Chet. And this is the sort of stuff like this high motor defense, crashing the glass, which we always worried he's too skinny to do. But I mean, I think that when you play at a pace like the Thunder do, and especially against a team that plays as fast as the Pacers do, I mean, it seems like he kind of fits in with exactly what this finals is about.
Yeah, there's this one possession. It was in the first half where Chet blocked the shot, grabbed the rebound, took it all the way to the basket. Basically 1-man fast break, didn't finish the layup, but got his own offensive rebound and then finished again. And so it's those like Giannis type plays where you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Where if he just puts that together consistently, if he is a guy who can, like you said, add some muscle to be able to finish through the basket, finish through contact, right? He just makes this OKC team so unbeatable because of what he can do as a floor stretcher, 5-out offense type, but also because he's such a great rim protector. And it's just those type of players don't grow on trees, right? There's like 3 or 4 guys in the NBA who can do what Chet Holmgren does. It's just about doing it consistently. And to your point, like when he does it like he did tonight, they're just a different animal to be able to guard.
He got dunked on by Neesmith on that putback.
That was insane.
And nobody knew what happened.
I'm not acknowledging it. I'm treating it like the crowd. OKC. They just kept going. No one even saw that
broke his
dunk.
arm.
It was crazy.
My God. Yeah.
On the Chet point really quickly, though, I just want to give him credit. We talked about it being a grow-up game for Jalen Williams. I think it was a grow-up game for Chet. With his offense not clicking the way he wanted, he still played really great defense. And I think that is a turning point for Chet we've seen in these playoffs, that his offense not being on has not impacted his ability to make an impact on defense. So that's great.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Pacers. It was not their greatest game, obviously. This is another high turnover game for them. They had 32 points off turnovers for the Thunder in the game. I mean, that's the story of the game. It should have been the story of game 1, right? But they had this miraculous comeback, and they almost did it again. And look, everyone is going to start when they get to the Pacers part. They're going to start with Tyrese Halliburton not hitting a shot. We'll get to that. That's a little bit more boring than what TJ McConnell did in this game. I'm not sure what happens when these guys get to OKC, but TJ McConnell gets into the plains and all of a sudden he's got superpowers. He was the best thing that they had going, outside of Pascal Siakam individually. Once again, for the Pacers to have success, they need 2 feet in the paint. Halliburton had nothing going. We find out kind of in the game that he's still dealing with the calf. And again, we'll talk about that. But I thought that the difference for this team when TJ McConnell was in the game was just, I mean, you could see it clearly. They wind up closing with TJ McConnell over Andrew Nembhard. And I just can't figure out what's the disconnect between the starters and the bench and why the bench is so relentless attacking. And the starters just seem to get hung up. I mean, I'm talking, they're up around the logo often with three guys, trying to get the ball inside. And it's almost as if the Thunder just say, you know what, we're going to just relax a little bit and TJ McConnell go to work. But he went to work and he almost pulled him back into this game.
He kind of catches you off guard because you don't expect it to happen. I don't know if you guys have ever done it where
son of a coach.
He's the son of a coach, but like, let's say you're running, let's say you're on a basketball run, right? And there's a guy who doesn't necessarily look like he can hoop, but he does eventually end up
wearing
hooping.
New Balance or something.
Yeah, he's wearing New Balance. It catches you off guard.
Right.
And so for some reason, McConnell just always catches defenses off guard. And to your point, like gets into the paint, forces, kickouts, be able to generate threes. He puts pressure on the basket, et cetera, et cetera. But more than anything, it's just like he makes things happen. He is the most make things happen guy I've seen in the NBA. He just finds a way. And it's incredible, man. It's really incredible to watch TJ do this.
When you watch maybe like Tom and Jerry, just any of the old cartoons back in the day, and they would be like trying to sneak around a corner quietly, and it'd be like, like that little we're gonna have to find Grayson. Gotta find that little sound of like tiptoes, just like getting, just trying to get around the corner. I could just see like that's how I see TJ McConnell's toes getting into the seams of the defense of OKC, because every time there was such a sliver of space for him to be able to weave through, and he found a way to get into it. And there was also great moments where you could like see the almost shell drill defense set up by OKC. Like they're moving on a string and TJ McConnell just cuts in the middle of that thing, which is exactly what you need in order to try and beat the shell drill. And he's the smallest guy out there doing that. And there's a fearlessness about him that is part of what makes him a get done, right? Get stuff done type of guy. You remember that very first big foul he got, his first foul, I believe, on Isaiah Hartenstein. He hits him hard. And he doesn't back away. He kind of looks to see, is Isaiah good? Because he came up kind of like, And Isaiah dapped him up like, good hard foul. And I feel like that is so indicative of who TJ McConnell is. Like, listen, I have to do the job that needs to happen. He's a gym rat. He's going to do what needs to happen. And people respect him for it. And it's part of what allowed the Pacers to put the game kind of in his hands in that third quarter and got them on that run to put him in the position to even try to battle at the top of the fourth. But man, absolutely a spark plug for the Pacers.
Sneaky athlete.
He is a sneaky athlete. He did this last year for Indiana too. Right. I feel like people forget about this, but he did this to help them get to the conference finals, and he got a bag off of it. Yeah. And now he's just doing it again at the highest level. And it's just, he's a spark. He's a spark for everything they want to do.
I think I got all my white guy cliche terms in there for TJ. I mean, he checks all those boxes. He is the stereotypical one. I mean, like, it really is. I mean, he checks all those boxes and then he comes in and gets stuff done. And that was in stark contrast to what was happening with the starters. Tyrese Halliburton, 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, did hit 4 free throws, grabbed 7 rebounds, had 6 assists. Again, he's dealing with this calf issue. You could see it. Yeah, he hasn't been able to drive in this series, actually, for a couple of games now and turn the corner. But you could see it, but it was in his passivity as well, right? Only 5 shots in the first half, takes 1 in the second half, just couldn't get open, couldn't get the ball. Yeah. And then guys like the secret to their sauce, where even when Halliburton isn't this high impact guy with the ball in his hands, is that you always had to worry about him. He was cutting, he was going to make a good pass, but in this game, he did not look like Tyrese Halliburton at all. In particular, that connector. I thought even the assist, it wasn't like what we normally see where the ball's kind of popping out of his hands. That was a diminished version of Tyrese Halliburton.
There was a late assist that he had to Obi Toppin late in the game. Obi was behind the defense, snuck behind, got an alley-oop. And it was like, it was late though. Like at that point, the game was a little bit out of your hand, and you're looking and you're seeing that's probably the most Tyrese Halliburton thing we've seen tonight, was that one pass. And it came so late in the game. And I know that frustrated him. You could see like the camera continued to be on Tyrese, and you could see in his face just how tired he was and frustrated with his situation. To me, at least, it seemed. But as you mentioned, the passivity, like the amount of times that early in the game, he was giving the ball to Nembhard and, going to get a screen, et cetera, moving quickly. After he hurt his calf, it was like, pass the ball away and let me just stand over here.
Yep.
And let's see what Siakam can do. Let's see what Miles Turner, let's see what anyone else can create, because right now it feels like, or looked like he was saying, I'm in some pain.
It was like
it
James
sucks.
Harden. What was it? 2021, something like that, where he hurt his hamstring and just couldn't do
barely
anything.
walk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as bad, but to that level, I think it affected him kind of similar.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that's why this was a Herculean type of effort from Pascal Siakam, who ended up with 6 turnovers, but he had to do so much for this team. He ended up with 28 points and on 15 shots. It's just like he was the ball handler. He was the guy bringing the ball up the court. He was the guy dealing with the added attention because Halliburton was in the corner. There was a possession where I think it was Nembhard who kicked it out to Hallie, right? And Hallie had this pretty open jump shot to take. He decided not to, passed it to Siakam, and Siakam drew a foul. And so, there's those moments of passivity from Hallie that it's unexpected, and it's clearly because of injury. Pascal tried his best, especially in that fourth quarter. He was awesome, but you need more from your main guy to be able to win a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he does put up 28 points, but I do think this is a game where I want Pascal, and he's not this guy to get to 22 shots, 23 shots. This is now multiple games in a row where I think it should have, fourth quarter, game 4 should have been a lot of Pascal Siakam, and we basically got none. He is their best player. And again, I call him the cooler, and I'm going to try to get this name to stick, but because he hits big shots every single time they need it. And, to get him more elbow touches, I think is crucial, especially as we look ahead to game 6. Speaking of, that brings us to our BetMGM pick of the night. Guys, we're going to look at game 6, and really the pick is it over?
Damn.
I am going to stick with my original prediction that got shifted one game after game 1. OKC in 6. Yeah. They look much more like the versions of themselves. That defense was stellar last night. And I feel like they've got the confidence to go into Indiana and finish this out, especially because they're one game away. So, OKC in 6. I might have taken my apology back from Indiana, but I do have to factor in the fact that Halliburton was not himself. And I think that's unfair to fully assess Indiana in that way with their star, their point guard and their star.
We're going to put an asterisk on this title if Oklahoma City does this.
No asterisk on that. I thought you meant asterisk on Indiana. No asterisk on
no asterisk on the title. Absolutely not.
There you go.
Where are you leaning? Is it over?
Yeah, it's over. And the reason I say that is because of the Hallie injury. I'm really curious to see how he'll look after 2 days off. Maybe he looks better and he's good to go on Thursday on Indiana, and that changes things. But as of now, it's tough to see Indiana pulling out of game 7 or forcing game 7. So, OKC in 6.
I hate to do it, guys. We're going 7. I believe in the Pacers. I don't know if they can win the title, but I feel like you give them a couple days off, they can win at home. It's going to be hard to beat Oklahoma City in a game 7 in Oklahoma City. But this Pacers team, I officially cannot rule them out, even if Halliburton's not 100%. I just can't do it. Guys, stick around. We got Andrew Schlecht live at Paycom after the Thunder's big win. The vibes in Oklahoma City are at an all-time high. The vibes on the podcast even higher because we got Andrew Schlecht in the house, and he wouldn't confirm that he was going to appear on the show until the buzzer sounded because he's so afraid of the NBA Daily Curse. Congratulations to the Thunder. They're now up 3-2. How was that game,
I was like,
Andrew?
how many T-shirts she's going to come back with?
It was pretty unbelievable.
How many T-shirts are they going to come back with? That's the other question.
That's a good question. A lot of T-shirts. Listen, this was the loudest event that I've ever been to. And I like rock and roll concert, NBA game, whatever, it's never been louder in any kind of event that I've ever been to. I mean, your ears are just ringing. It is, and truly it's the crowd itself is very special. And it's a lot of times I feel like NBA crowds are kind of egged on by PA announcers or MCs or somebody getting out there and like trying to get them hyped up. I don't even remember the MC talking during the game, to be honest, because the crowd would just chant during timeouts.
God, it was unreal.
So it was electric in here. It's never been louder, and you could see it. And the phrase that Mark kept using was they were the wind at the back of the Thunder, all night, and it was that. It just felt like impossible. One, there were shades of Game 1 tonight.
A lot of shades
that were terrifying to Thunder fans here, but the fans were persistent throughout it, like to continue to cheer for them, to kind of like push them over the edge, and they were able to handle business.
I feel like people didn't sit down the whole game. Like that's what I kept noticing is that people were standing the whole time.
I sit in this corner up here, and because of the way that it's situated, when fans are standing, I can't really see, so I have to stand.
Right.
Wow.
Which is pretty unusual, like for a medium. But I stood for probably 70% of the game because everyone was standing for like any made basket. The crowd would stand for the next defensive possession. If they got a stop, they would continue to stand. And so I'm standing up most of the time on my bum knee. And it was very, very cool. It's a very unique environment. It was a very unique NBA environment.
That was what surprised me in Game 1 too. When we watched it live, it was like everybody was standing the entire time. And you mentioned the vibe, the loudness. I can't imagine an arena being louder than it was in Game 1. So if it was loud in Game 5, we got a chance to see that a little bit in the starting lineup intros, which by the way was awesome. Hopefully they do that more often. Yeah. It from your perspective, when you look at like crowds and comparisons are kind of like whatever, but you see how OKC supports this team. They show up at 3 a.m. to the airports and whatnot. In terms of like connections to the community, this has to be number one in the NBA, right?
I mean, it's got to be close to it. If not, I mean, there's not really anything else that like binds this state together like the Thunder. There was always the Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State rivalry that always existed. And like this just, it bonds everybody in the state together. And like, you can't go anywhere right now without seeing something Thunder or somebody's trying to talk to you about the Thunder. The collective misery that happened when they went down 2-1 was palpable. Yeah. And now like the energy with fans walking out of here chanting one more win, is just electric. There's just nothing else, no other way to describe it. There's an electricity in the city right now, and they can feel that their team is finally going to get over the hump after going through the Durant years and the Westbrook years and everything to get to this point where it's all these, you should have done it, you should have done it, you should have done it. And it's like there's one more win away, and like you can feel the energy for sure.
One more win, and then Paul George gets the parade invite, right? Isn't that how it's going to work? Thank you, Paul.
Right? He at least gets a float.
Podcast P live from Bricktown. That's go.
Right. Come on, the Tipsy Tiki will open the doors up. Andrew, look, this was a growing up game for Jalen Williams, J-Dub. Coming into the playoffs, we talked about a lot about last year and how he didn't step up when they needed him, especially in the games. I mean, he dominated in this game. It's one of the best games I can remember from him in his career, period. 40-point game, was aggressive getting his shot, driving to the basket, creating chaos in passing lanes on the defensive end. It was kind of like a highlight reel of what he's able to do.
Yeah, it was funny. Trying to ask him questions about it to get like a good answer was really tough because all he wants to do is win. Right. All he cares about is winning the games. And he's like, what I think about is we have one more win, to go. It's like when you ask him. So I asked him this question. There are only 8 other players in the history of the NBA that have scored 40 or more when they're 24 or younger in the NBA Finals. And it's Booker, Kyrie, Westbrook, Wade, Magic, Rick Barry, Jerry West, and George Mikan. And now Jalen Williams is on that list.
That's a very good list. Wow.
And I asked him
George
about
Mikan
that.
action. There you go.
And that's right. Mike and layups.
Mike
Come
and
on, let's
drill.
go.
Yeah,
Mike and layups, baby. That's what they're doing all night.
He was all he cares about is winning this thing. He said, I'll give you a better answer, later on. But right now, all they care about is winning. It is the right approach, and they are laser focused on bringing the first title to Oklahoma City.
Andrew, we talked a lot about, obviously, the offensive performances. Jalen Williams, obviously. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander alongside him. But we did not really talk about what was so apparent in this game. And really, I think, also galvanized by the crowd, this OKC defense. And I feel like we probably don't talk about it enough because it's just been who they are. It's been their identity leading up into this point. But tonight, between Alex Caruso, Shai Gilgeous, Jalen Williams, hands everywhere. It was just like consistent disruption. The passes that Tyrese Halliburton usually makes, Pascal Siakam was dribbling through trees. Andrew Nembhard was turning the ball over. Like, it was just consistent disruption of all of the telegraph passes that Indiana tried to get through. Did it feel like to you that the defense was on another level? Because you've been watching this all year. Did it feel energized in a different way?
Yeah, no question. 27 stocks in this one for them just is insane. It's the perimeter guys for sure. I thought Dort was ridiculous. I'm sure you guys have talked about Halliburton.
Yeah.
And, the game that he had, but it was a collective. It wasn't just, it was a lot of Dort, but it wasn't just Dort. It was a lot of guys that contributed. Chet was just
we talked about Chet.
Amazing.
Defensively. It was truly special. It was almost like the powers of the crowd and the Oklahoma City defense kind of like merged at points because it got
crescendo.
It got so loud that it felt like they truly were like they were one at one point. It's like the crowd and the Thunder were going to stop the Pacers. It was a weird feeling watching it. And maybe even describing it, that might sound weird, but I'm telling you, that's how it felt in the building.
That's why I asked you the question when I was like, they galvanized them. It really felt as if the spirit of the crowd was moving through the long hands and fingertips of OKC in the way that they just were everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt that way.
Andrew, I want to ask you a little bit of a side tangent here because I texted to you about this during the game, but Wiggins and Wallace, there was an argument to be made after game 4 where the Thunder could like cut their rotation and run 6 or 7 guys, and they doubled down. Mark Daigneault doubled down on it. Wiggins and Wallace ends up playing. Aaron Wiggins ends up playing. They were massive. Aaron Wiggins had 14 points. Wiggins and Wallace had 11. A couple of massive threes in that first half. What does that say about this Thunder team? That they're just like, they're willing to keep going with their depth, even though maybe you could have argued that they probably should have shortened their rotation.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of trust in these guys. And they know, like, Kaysen's really young. Yeah. Kaysen's in his second year, and he was a really, really young rookie. And I think that they know, one, that they want this guy to be a part of what they do for a long time. And that they have, like, a trust in him. I actually went and talked to Kaysen's parents and his brother, who plays for the Hawks, after the game. Yeah. And, like, there's probably nobody happier in this arena than that group of people. I mean, they were just buzzing after the game. But yeah, I mean, it does say a lot that they would trust him in this moment because he hadn't made a 3 in the finals up until tonight.
Yeah.
And he's 0 for 8.
0 of 8. I mean, is it more likely that continues or that he makes shots? I mean, we've seen a lot of young guys, second-year guys, rookies, go into the finals and they just lay an egg the whole time. It is really hard to perform in the finals. And for him to be able to show up and get them one step closer is huge. And you have to give a ton of credit to Mark for trusting in him for sure.
Smart strategy. Don't sub your guys out until they need to be, right? And he's proven that he's been able to bench these guys as need be. All right. Well, look, before we get out of here, Andrew, going to put you on the spot. Is it over?
It kind of feels like it's over. It kind of does.
Don't you want to celebrate in the locker room? Don't you want to be,
Yes.
Would you rather win it in 6 or in 7 at home?
Right. Yeah.
Risk game 7, Andrew. This is you on the spot.
Listen, you just want to win it. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
All right.
You sound like Shai and Jalen.
I think you would rather win it here. Like it would really be special.
Sure.
But
we saw this
game.
Point.
We saw this game get down to 4 though.
Yeah.
You want to close this out.
And then I give Halliburton just wakes up suddenly, which we've seen before. We've seen him be asleep for 3.5 quarters and then wake up and be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to pour in 10 points here. Yeah. Then what? So no, you don't mess around. If you got a chance to go do it, I feel like the momentum is with the Thunder. I think that Game 4 loss for the Pacers was massive.
Yeah.
And then the Thunder being able to lead by as much as they did and just kind of kept punching them in the mouth tonight. I think momentum is on the Thunder side. I think that they're going to have a good shot to win in Indy.
Yeah, feels like it. All right, that's going to do it for the show, folks. We'll be back with more stuff. We got Sam Amick on tomorrow's show. We're going to actually talk about Desmond Bane getting traded, which was insane. And we just didn't have time today. But for Andrew Schlecht, Zena Keita, Es Baraheni, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.